Good evening, everyone. Whoever's already tuned in, thank you very much. But let us know who you are. Drop us a comment. We just want to say hi to you. So, for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, just FYI, you would have been tuned in from either channels on LinkedIn or your YouTube channel. There are two ways. So, you have alternatives just in case you follow the channels macam tak jadilah kan. Hello, Chris. Apa macam? Lai hau?
Hello, Chris.
Been a while since Tyler and I co-hosted this. In fact, I think this is the first time, Tyler. I think this is the first time you and I are actually
yeah.
done. Yeah.
First time.
So let's bring it.
Also lah. Actually, it's my first time on the back end of a live also.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I've never been on the hosting end on the back end here.
So it's 8 o'clock already. All right. So we're just gonna roll it, and we hope that you just stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Good evening. Thank you so much again for just staying with us here. So, welcome to tonight's topic. We are going to be talking about communication. We're going to communicate about communication. How ironic is that? Anyway, how to fit in. All right. So tonight's episode is about not just communicating, but how to fit in different scenarios, and we're going to visit those scenarios tonight. So. Feel free to always engage us, throw us the darndest questions. So, Tyler, now
Hello.
wish our friends who are tuned in as usual. Ini budak first, number one. Okay. We got your feedback, Chris. Tyler's voice is a bit soft, so we're trying to sort it out as well too. But anyway, thanks again for joining us as always. Chris has always been one of the regulars, if not more than likely you see him the first to leave a comment. And Samantha, Samantha and I, we just really met in real life for the first time. Was it just last week? And I kind of know who she is for this while. So Kamsia, thank you so much for joining us. And orang Serin choice lah. Jangan tidur, okay. Nanti sudah Serin tidur dengan see shut, right? He is he takes up boxing, right, for sport, for fitness, and hobby, and he seems pretty good at it and pretty badass based on his photos. Tyler, you're into something about that as well. You're into combat sports as well too, right?
I dabble in it, man. Like I'm not even like, I won't call it even training. I just show up like once a week and that's it, man.
So there you go, Ershad. You've got as a sparring partner. Okay, he's clearly closer to your weight class. Anyway, so Guten Tag.
Guten Tag.
All the way from Germany, raining, huh? Okay, all right. So my mic is messed up, really? Really? For real? Okay. Keep keep it coming. Let me know. Is it bad or what? Or let me try to adjust a little bit there.
Yeah. Wow, this Daniel, get me in trouble straight already, huh? If I take MC, not happen,
There's no MC1, bro. You can ask Eric to certify you whether you're still fit to work or not. Not my problem. Okay.
Definitely, as long as my finger can twitch, he say can work, I can type what?
So, okay, maybe Tyler, you could just give us a bit of a introduction, okay, about what we are going to be talking about. Why are we even visiting this topic? We've been harping about communication for a few times already in our past episodes. And to all of you tuning in as well, please let us know your thoughts as well. Why is it so important? Do you even think it's important? And how to do it effectively? What are you expecting out of it? Maybe you can let us know through your comments. And while we wait for your comments to drop in, take it away, Tyler. What do you think?
Okay. Yeah, I think like how we landed on this topic as well, right? Was we're like, it's such a complex topic to communicate. There's so many different ways you can break it down as well. There's a non-verbal, there's a verbal, there's a choice of words, there's sentence structure, how formal you go, there's tone of voice, everything else, right? So it's so complex. You try to break it up conceptually, but it's just much simpler to think of it as when you communicate, do you fit the environment, or do you fit the purpose of which you are trying to communicate something, right? Yeah, so I think it's important, and I think a lot of us, and feel free to let me know if that's your experience as well, but me personally, when I'm working, it's a different voice and a different focus.
Yeah.
So when I'm delivering a presentation, it's different. When I'm online, it's different. When it's not work, it's totally different as well. So I'm a little bit different when it's social and work. Like even when we're sitting and talking to clients as well, I'll switch in and out, talk about work stuff, serious, and then talk about chill stuff, relax. I think also
I
in
agree.
different environment, yeah.
Kind of code switch, right? And the way how we speak. And I do that, and quite subconsciously as well. Friends who have seen me in a work environment, clearly the way how I speak is very, very different. But meet me someplace else that is out of office or even after hours, especially in the bar, that's a totally different level anyway. So Tyler can attest to it actually. So so it really depends on how we can just blend in, and not just to blend in for the sake of blending in, but to kind of break the ice, which is what we are going to start off the next episode with. Okay, how to break the ice. Okay, so maybe we can throw in certain scenarios for context to drive and guide the attention of this topic. Maybe you and me, Eric, Tyler, how did we even first met? Those years ago, but clearly we met through LinkedIn, and here we are, we're working together. But how did it? So in that context, we met through social media. It was at the height of the COVID lockdown, if I can recall. So in that context, we couldn't meet each other face to face clearly, and we got to do it virtually. Do you still remember how we broke the ice?
It's funny because I think I was on the show back when I was still TKSS, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we virtually met first. So that was in the back end of the studio. How we broke the ice was literally, I think I noticed that time you just baru go botak only lah. So I just mentioned botak.
Yeah. I think it was 2021. It was March 18th of March 2021 when the deed was done by our mutual friend anyway. So okay, so that became the talking points for you, the icebreaker for you. Just an event taking place, why I shaved my head and for what reason, and we did quite a fair bit of promotion of that event as well too. Okay, so and perhaps we could also touch on how to break the ice, just as kids. If you think back, right? I mean, I have a 4-year-old right now with me, and it's just amazing how easy is it that he make new friends. He just rock up next to the kid, and yeah, they do their thing. Sometimes they don't even talk because they're still, I don't know, they're just at the late stage of their toddler years. So, it's a lot of body languages, and there's just a bit of understanding. Yeah, it's hard to explain, and they do that. But if adults try doing that, if I go up to you to look at you, your face is like, hey, you siao. It's like harassment. There's no respect of personal space. But I think we are grown-ups, and we're more accustomed to at least say, hi, hey, how are you? I'm Daniel, and you extend a hand as a form of introduction. Hopefully that goes well, and we get from there. And perhaps that's where we could also find certain topics. So, don't know about you, Tyler. Do you use something to kind of break the ice? Because I do.
Okay. Times I break the ice, usually it's only in the two contexts. Oh, hello. Yeah,
Not new look lah. Just lazy hair look. Just dry my hair with a towel from the shower.
I'll do false advertisement. This one, he's trying a new Korean hairstyle.
No,
Messy
far from
look.
it. No, cannot. Those pretty boys, no go. So yeah, do you use anything to like facilitate breaking the ice?
A common thing I do is I acknowledge, let's say, any awkward motions or any awkward moments, or I use this particularly in, let's say, for example, like in lifts, or while we're waiting in line or something like that. I'm the type that I don't like that uncomfortable silence, so I'll try to break the ice to make sure that goes away, because I'm like, I'm not gonna stand in front of you in the LRT. We're facing each other and we're just awkward the whole time, right?
Okay.
So I just mentioned, I said, well, this is kind of awkward. So that's one of the lines I'll use. I was like, this is kind of awkward, that. Yeah,
Okay.
I said, but we just need to wait for people to walk past and clear. Then it's, I'll give you back your space.
Fair
So
enough.
just acknowledge that it's awkward or something. If we met each other's just met each other's eyes for a second and then looked away again, I say like, well, now I looked, I have to talk to you, right? That's a rule. So I just do stuff like that, and then people would,
Yeah.
okay,
You know,
what?
I actually
Yeah,
did-
we got it now.
I did that to someone about just 2 weekends ago. It was an outing for my son's school. So other parents were there as well too. So clearly we didn't know a lot of our parents out there. But it was just this guy who kept looking at me, and then it hit me. I felt that he looked familiar, and true enough, I just went up and said, you know what, we've been locking up eyes, and you look very familiar. I'm Daniel, by the way. And I just threw up, you're from this school? I said, oh, yeah. So it turns out he was my schoolmate anyway. Different year. So, it's been 20 years since I left high school, more than 20 years actually. So, yeah lor. So, how do I break the ice for myself? I love shoes, love it, whether for just casual or for work. And yeah, I mean, some of you have seen my shoes, very bling bling, right? It becomes a very natural attention-seeking item. It's just right there, and your eyes will automatically, just look into my shoes. So just for example, and sometimes I even wear mismatched socks. Well, not sometimes, most of the time anyway. So, so yeah, that became an icebreaker. We just start talking, and and one thing fall into place after another, and it took off. So that's me. And Chris, all right, let's just check out some comments, all right, about this particular topic. Syed, I like your question and your idea of doing it. I saw your the other question. We'll address that in just a moment's time, right? But yeah, how much does a polar bear weigh? I actually don't know, but it did provoke my thought, trying to challenge my mind to come up with a logical answer. That kind of made me pause for a while. So okay, so there you go. This starts with a small talk, like the environment of the place, find out some common interests, sports or hobby. Yeah, for guys, most if not all involved or at least are interested in one or two sports, maybe, even if there's if they're not into sports, but something that we could still relate to, esports, maybe games, for example, like Eric talk about sports. Well, that fella, no, yeah, he's into fitness, yes, but sports, no, he probably practice and exercise his fingers hammering away on his desk or keyboard. Oh, well, speaking of sports, do you like any sports, Tyler?
Sports, not really, but I like outdoorsy stuff though. So one
Mhm.
sport that I do watch is the UFC lah. So MMA,
Ah,
one championship UFC. That's what I enjoy watching. I don't get
that's what you do
the.
too.
I know I'm gonna ruffle some feathers, but I don't get people who kick a piece of rubber around the field for 1.5 hours. But but I do get people getting in the cage and beating each other up. I don't know why. It's just because I guess we train in it, so
Violent.
we look at the technique, we look at the way they move, how they doing certain tells. So that's interesting to me because I guess I'm biased towards it lah.
All right,
But we all
fair
have
enough,
different
fair enough.
sports we like. So that's one.
Okay.
Other than that, I watch very weird sports on YouTube. So do you know there's such a thing as the cheese rolling championships?
I mean, I eat
It's
cheese.
a whole.
Cheese rolling championship. That's a first.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
gonna love the YouTube binge you go on after this. it's actually a sport on its own.
yeah. All right, all right. But there you go. And so you do dabble
That's
in
another icebreaker.
in MMA as well. Clearly, you like watching it, and you like doing it as well. So, Irshad, you got your match, okay? So just hit him up. So, but then here it is. He said too, when we were kids, we're more open to break the ice because of our curiosity mainly. We're just very kepo lah, or just having so much curiosity in our mind. And then, of course, as we grow older, we're more cautious. And suppose that's just the nature of growing up in a very circular environment where clearly safety becomes the next priority. So yeah, it's very hard not to grow cautious, isn't it? So okay.
I guess
But that's a
as
good
kids,
point.
we don't think about how much we have to lose as well. So, but as adults, you start thinking about is it okay if I talk to this person or something like that. But as kids, you're like, not a thought in the world. Just go like, you want to play with my ball? Sure.
Irshad brought a very thought-provoking thought in my head where, you and I, we met virtually, and those were the days our parents are even, I probably may tell my son in the next few years, just be careful of who you meet, especially online, who you have not met in person, or it's so hard to validate and verify the person's identity, isn't it? Given the current challenges that we have, I don't know, some new terms I've just learned up recently: catfishing, and then scammers all around, stolen identities, and yeah, you name it, right? So, uh, I I have to. I may not like it, but I think I will have to go through that phase with my son down the road. And I can even already imagine. But you did it too, You went out and connect with people on LinkedIn. What are you going to say about that, Daddy? Okay lah, masalah aku. So yeah, let's talk about that in the next few years, huh? So, how to break the ice? We're gonna move on onto this: body language and facial expression. A lot of it. If you could agree or disagree with me, this goes out to everyone out there, is that when we introduce ourselves, clearly we want to make sure there is some form of basic chemistry, some form of trust enough for us to continue engaging each other in conversation. So our body language, our facial expression, our hand movements, eyebrows, eyes, all comes into play. Yeah, imagine lah. I admit lah, aku ada face problem lah. I admit. See, Tyler laughing. Con confirm already, I feel agree. See, Gina. But what do you think?
Takes on to no one lah.
So, how do we tackle that, man? I mean, how do we don't look or behave like a creep and scare the crap out of people? Any ideas? What do you think, audience? But Tyler, what do you think about that?
while everyone's coming up with different ideas, I think the non-verbal, right? I guess the face does signal something. Generally, yes, don't want to look garang lah. I think it's the first thing.
Okay.
But the less garang you seem, okay lah, people will approach. Which is, there's a story lah. Because these eyebrows, right, tend to go up like at the side here. So
like
last time I
Guan
sit
Gong
on
like
the
that, right?
bus, yeah, but dude, the challenge of that is, right, even kids look at me and they're like, hey, why is he angry? And I'm like, I'm not. I guess like this is my normal face, the RBF face. Yeah, I think it helps that, when I guess some cues that signal that, you are approachable or friendly is, I guess, if you look curious, if you look somewhat excited, to see the person, if let's say they're friendly and, you guys sync up on something, you find a common ground or the same hobby, then your face lights up, right? Like, oh, you're into that too. And then automatically it helps the conversation flow, I guess.
Yeah, that kind of reciprocate. It's as if that you're also paying attention to the other person, when you talk to him or her, and some of the things that he or she have said, you kind of caught the certain keywords, and it becomes a natural flow in the conversation, and clearly it also makes the other party appreciate, because we are obviously giving them the due attention deserve, right? So we have Said. He says that body language is so much harder in virtual meetings. Clearly, so double facial expressions. You know why is it so hard? It's true, right? It's so true. How many virtual meetings that we have encountered that involves cameras being turned on? What facial expressions are we talking about, right? So even when the camera is turned on, right now, Tyler and I are hosting this episode. How are we doing? What do you take both of us for? And what we're trying to convey based on how we look. It's difficult enough, but for virtual meetings with cameras turned off, that's I've got nothing to say.
Memang susah lah.
Yeah.
All the videos you ask turn on also tak mau tengok.
Anyway, so but here we are maintaining. When Chris dropped this comment earlier, you were talking about it's very hard for you, as you were sharing experience of you having an RBF, just being who you are, just relax, being yourself, chill, minding your own business with your eyebrows. Imagine with that kind of RBF and you maintain eye contact with them.
It depends. If you look at them like that, it's all right. But if you look at them like, like your head tilted a bit, like you want to, that kind of eye contact doesn't help.
Yeah, but I mean, we get what you mean, Chris. We get what you mean. I mean, of course, a healthy amount of eye contact, and I also find that it may get a little bit overwhelming for some people if we were to maintain a constant eye contact. I get it. I feel it. I can feel the discomfort. Not everybody are made to maintain eye contact constantly like that. So, like what I just did just now, and I said so. And I look down, so I kind of like just soften the whole interaction. As far as I'm concerned, the goal is when speaking to someone, my primary objective is clearly to make that person feel comfortable, at least to want to still talk to me, to engage with me. And even if the interaction ends, it ends on a good note, on a comfortable note that okay, he's all right, or she's all right, and that's what I want to. So, but how about you? Do you like maintain eye contact only, or you also like just look around others, making that as part of your body language, Tyler? Do you do that?
Okay, so I've got some feedback on this before. My tendency, right, is my eyes will wander everywhere. If I'm thinking, it looks here, or I look up when I'm thinking. Or
Are you a left brain?
I am left-handed, so I'm technically right brain.
Oh, right brain, right. Oh, right. Okay.
Like I always think, and when I look up and as I'm talking to someone, my eyes will wander a lot. So sometimes I feel like that's not enough. Like, are you focused? But I'm like, I am focusing, and that's why I'm thinking, but my eyes will wander as a
Okay.
result. But
Okay.
yeah, so that's something that, again, is unintentional, but it signaled that I wasn't really paying attention to the conversation.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah, so it's something to
Fair
take
enough.
into mind, how different people receive it as well.
I guess that's where we have to find the sweet spot. Find that balance of wanting to still retain their attention as well as giving them the sense that we are actually paying attention to them, and it's just who we are, at times. So, before we go on to the next speaking topic here, right? So we've been talking about how to break the ice, our body language, our facial expression that involves our eyebrow movements, our direction of our sight, all these, it matters. So let's throw in some variables into the mix scenarios. Let's just say, we have quite a bit of young professionals around in our circle, some of them fresh grads, some of them final year students. And Tyler, you are also a mentor outside of of what you do during working hours, and we can agree that we've met quite a fair bit of you know young adults struggling with this one very simple question, or in fact, it's not a question; it's a statement. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah.
Ding ding ding. How? How? So tell us about yourself, Tyler.
Well, I am quite a serious person when I'm at work, but apart from that, I'm a bit weird. So, for example, I mean, like, I don't like wearing,
Do you
like
say that
monochrome
in
shirts.
interviews? Do you say that in
I do,
interviews?
I do. I have in the past actually. Um, Mei Chong from Hunters.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so in the interview, that's exactly what I said. I'm quite serious when I'm
Mm,
working, but apart from that, I'm a bit weird. So all these, colorful shirts. I have a shirt of whimsical ducks as well. Um, so yeah, I'm not very serious when I'm not working, but people have the impression that I am. But what I do mostly in my free time is anything to do with the arts. I enjoy a lot of that, and that kind of leaks into my work as well because I don't
mm,
typically go for the how do I put it? I don't like tried and tested methods too much. I like to be in positions where I'm allowed to play around and mess around a little bit and try and figure out what else can be done that's better. If not, if it's like 10% sharper, 10% sharper, why not?
mm.
So I like the kind of positions where I can innovate. So that's a bit about me, lah.
Okay, there we go. So I mean, that was literally just throwing him under the bus, if you want to put it that way, on the fly, and there you go. But you see, and find it, it's okay. If I were to make a very neutral judgment of how he did, well, not too bad. It's not bad at all. It's not too perfect, but and that's okay. It's just he's being himself. If you remember as well, during the start, he was like, he paused, tried to collect his thoughts on how to phrase his next words, and that's okay. But the moment he got started, right? And then off he went. So that's the thing, Tyler, and also to everyone out there. I find that simple statement of tell us about yourself. It's so easy yet very awkward. It makes people feel very weird and uncomfortable. Um, Based on, so clearly you and I, we have quite a few years apart, and you're right smack in your prime, or at least achieving your prime very very soon. How do you go about it? How do you go about that? Do you have any ways to like guide them, break out of the shell, for example?
I think try not to get philosophical with it. I think a lot of people, right? This is recently, by the way, which is a bit strange for me because with the Gen Zs that I've interviewed so far, right, they get quite deep with it. They don't go the
Mm,
typical route of talking about the work stuff, because those of us have been through, I guess, the era where everything was uploaded onto YouTube and you get all these job seeking advice and everything else.
mm,
The tendency is that you have a little bit of a self pitch, that you try and pitch yourself somehow.
mm,
But the younger ones,
mm,
they really just go with, they think of it from the existential point of view. who
Okay.
am I? Then I'm like, oh no, no, don't have to go so deep. Just what do you do? What do you enjoy? How you like? So I try to phrase it differently, lah. But I think the good way to translate that question, right? Just think of who you're talking to, how they come off to you. If they're wearing very formal, very formal wear, let's say if you're interviewing with PwC, for example, right?
Mm,
Of course, if you're sitting in the interview room and they ask you that question, they want to know a little bit about how you are as a professional. Then you can
mm,
insert some part of the personal as, just tie that in as well.
mm.
But majority focus would be, I guess, the professional side of you.
Okay.
But if you're in a social context, like you're meeting a friend, like, so yeah, Tyler, tell me a bit more about you. We first time meeting you, we don't know you. If it's at the bar or something like that, then depending how many drinks you've had, I guess your answers may vary. But
Well,
yeah,
okay, fair point. So I hear you as well too. So maybe we can then add a bit of casualness to this scenario. So we were just talking about quite a formal setting, specifically in an interview. But here's the thing: I am a hiring manager today. I am an interviewer as well. But I was on the other side of the table many times, especially during my younger days, right? So uh, maybe again, thanks to having a fair bit of years behind me so far under my belt. The thing about interviews, it's not just about sizing up that person, whether is that person fit for the job, but it's also to understand that person's values, the goals, whether are they aligned with who we are looking for the right fit in terms of culture, in terms of casual interaction. Because at the end of the day, all businesses will have to involve people. People come first, right? So is do we are we comfortable in dealing with this person or not? And more often than not, when we want to understand that better, it usually involves interpersonal questions. Nothing too private, nothing too personal, but just at least give a clear picture, an idea of who we are. That we are not a creep or a sociopath. If you give me a raise next year, you watch it. Your tire's gonna get flat first. Next up. Yeah. I've been watching too much thriller series out there. But yeah, I mean, you get the point, right?
yeah.
Um, yeah, okay. All right. So,
Let me answer this.
oh, hey, hello.
Okay, I'll click it up.
Love it when she says boys. Yes.
Boys. Yeah, you feel younger now?
So, yeah, always. Always. And Vegas my voice too. Anyway, Syed says, do people still shake hands since the pandemic? I do. But okay. So from where we're from, we're in Malaysia, where we're a melting pot of cultures and races and faiths. Okay. So don't know about the rest, but I speak for myself. I'm a bit cautious and sensitive to Muslim women. Okay. So I don't necessarily extend my hand, but I will place my right hand over my heart. Say, "Hey, I'm Daniel. Nice to meet you." And just take it from there. But if it's the men and non-Muslim women, very likely, yes, I'll just extend the hand. But I do pay a fair bit of attention, extra attention compared to men, because again, we live in a modern society where the a simple act like that can be misconstrued very, very easily. So I also do not want to cross that line and make the other party uncomfortable, to say the least. How do you do? Do you still shake hands, Tyler? I remember I shook your hand when I first met you in person.
Yeah, I think by default, what I've learned to do is I'll extend hand, but the only exception, like you said as well, is for I'm very cautious when it comes to Muslim women, not because of fear of any, but out of respect, because I understand the
Mm.
cultures, they don't shake hands. So I extend
Mm.
it, but if they they nod at me, then I'll just touch the heart and just yeah, nice to
Yeah,
meet you.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yes, bring it back. It doesn't have to be awkward that way.
yeah, yeah. So,
But
okay.
typically, yeah, by default, I just extend the hand.
Mm. I hope that answers your question, Said. But yeah, good one. Give it, you know, But I also understand the certain quarters who are still cautious. Health is important, especially after the scare. It's no joke, 2 years of lockdown globally. And yeah, I mean, that's a lot of respect of what we have gone through, isn't it? So if that person is not comfortable doing so, well, who are we to judge, right? Just as the same as everyone is now permitted to, be maskless, but it's totally your call individually if you still feel safer masking up. So,
Yeah.
right now, let's move on to a more casual setting. Let's go for parties. We're walking into a nice party, be it a friend's house or in a bar or in a restaurant. So, or even places where there are crowds. Okay, a business setting, a convention or forum or whatnot. So, how do we read the crowd? Uh, this is specifically if we have to address a group of them, I suppose.
Mm.
Right? How do you read crowd, everyone? Do you do that? How do you determine the mood? We'd like to know. Just drop in the comments, okay? Tyler, how do you read the crowd?
I mean, first, a few things. If, let's say it's an impromptu context, meaning that we just happen to, we were eating here and then we just like, hey, let's just head opposite to that side of the bar and you just bump into a bunch of friends who happen to be there as well, right? For example. I mean, it depends on, yeah, again, the environment. So, I mean, reading the room is the first thing I would do. So, not just across the room first, so like, okay, is this a bar? Is this a mama? Is this somewhere else? Then I'll be quite conscious about who they're with, for example. If it's just my friend, yeah. Just, we already know each other, we already know how we interact. You don't have to think about anything. But if, let's say they're with family, or if they're with their, with their significant other and it's date night and they're all dressed up, for example, then okay, maybe it's an occasion I don't want to spend too much time engaging with this person, right? Because maybe they might be in the middle of something that's important for the family or with the spouse, and yeah, I don't want to get in between that. So just, hi, how are you doing? Good to see you guys. Catch up soon, and then cabut lah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's a social setting. But if it's formal, like you see them sitting at the table and they say, "Oh, this is my colleague, this is my boss." I'm like, okay, then I know. Me by default. I'm like, okay, you guys do your thing. You're at work technically, right? So I'm not gonna bother you. I'll just say hi. I'll just introduce myself to whoever introduces me to, exchange greetings, and that's about it, lah. I mean, I'll look at first the room and then who they're with. Or if I don't know the person, if I don't know anyone, I just see which are they part of a crowd, who are they, who they come to the event with, for example, and yeah, just take it from there afterwards.
Okay. That also
What's your formula?
requires a fair bit of experience. That, I mean, you clearly have got it naturally in you already, because based on what you said, you are observing the social cues, trying to gauge what's the mood, the setting. And Chris kind of dropped in a very relatable comment as well. So it depends on how, partly how, okay, the crowds are dressed as well. It kind of gives you an idea what kind of event you're at. Is it a no back tie? Is it a speakeasy event, or is it just short slippers? Just go PM and whatnot. So I mean, that plays a part as well. The environment, right? So okay, I think yeah, and in reading the crowd, in other aspects also, I mentioned a bit earlier, is when we have to address crowds in a big group. I say you've got to go up to the stage, present something. Don't even have to talk about stage. Let's just talk about in a meeting room that we've got to present something to our stakeholders, to our team, maybe to present a project milestone of whatever that we're doing, right? So, we in that context, prior to the meeting, we already know who is our audience, right? Who is going to be there? Potentially, is the big boss going to be there, or is just our direct manager? Is the HR guy is going to be there, or the finance and so forth is going to be there. So that kind of gives us an idea, sort of like a preparation, some criteria for us to plan our talking points, and then when we get there, all right, let's see how's the morning like, how's the coffee, is it raining, is it sunny out there, any pigs fly on in a clear blue sky, I don't know. So that could determine their mood as well too. So we're gonna take a bit of a pause here, and then we're gonna come back and address a question. Okay, so we are just going to show you a halftime advert that we've come up with. Okay, and we're going to talk about it just in a bit. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. There we go. What's Commando Club? Can you tell what's Commando Club, Tyler? Because there's a lot of
Commando Club.
focus on the word commando.
Yeah, so I think the first thing that Aaron asked us to clarify was, do you have to go commando to come to the Commando Club? The very, very strong answer is no.
Yeah, there's no, all right. So it is something that we have been organizing, partnering our strategic partners as well. Sharon, who's on the show with us, watching, it's iconic. And what we do is that there are workshops and courses that hopefully it value adds to all the audiences from all walks of life. And speaking of which, we are going to have a final Commando Club for this year that's happening very, very soon. Right, it's on the 15th of November. Check it out. So this is what's all about. You know, it's kind of apt as well. If you notice, this workshop is going to be about networking, how to engage others confidently without all the social options. Pretty much what we are discussing about tonight, isn't it? But we will have Dishan and Dr. Eric talking about it, presenting live in person at Iconic, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. And best part is, look at it, free admission. So if there's any of you out there who are in a transition in your life, maybe you got to present something, or you're looking for a work, or that you need to talk to people who are not familiar with, well, consider it. Okay, so those two guys are best at what they do, and Dr. Eric is actually not practicing, but he is a certified medical doctor, and he lectures at the med school, particularly how to communicate effectively to the med school students. So consider that. Okay, so we're going to come back to a question there. Tyler, would you want to take this from Samantha, asking whether there are extra brownie points for candidates in an interview who offer handshakes?
Me personally, from all the time I interview, it's not something I pay attention to. I'll extend a hand regardless, first or not. But I think if they do extend it, at least it shows like they usually a bit more. They come off as more proactive. So whether there's extra brownie points, maybe not consciously, but maybe subconsciously, it does help them to, have a better footing or a better start. So first impression kind of thing, right? But whether I do score them for it, like, no lah. But I think subconsciously, it helps the conversation to roll, and they tend to do better. They tend to do better.
I agree. And Samantha, I do agree with what Tyler said as well. I wouldn't really exactly give the extra points, but it does leave an impression, of that person. How is the grip and the proactiveness of offering the hand for the handshake first instead of responding to me, reaching out, right? Because at the end of the day, in my personal opinion, right, it kind of speaks volumes of who we are, of our our character, and it's more of just a formality. It's a massive indication, basically our values, how we've been brought up, and it's so much more than just saying hello. There's a bit of a trust involved there, that they're willing to actually get in contact with you and have that handshake. And those were the days where during my grandfather's time, he always say that a handshake is a contract. So that's that. I mean, I would think so. It would be nice. And Isha, what do you say? Oh yeah, so it is responding to what you said earlier, what you shared earlier, Tyler. So it says, in any event, he'd say, "Hi, nice to meet you. If his friend is with the boss, girlfriend, or anyone in particular, always praise the friend just to give him an extra confidence boost. Very nicely done, man. For example, oh, you're having dinner? You're the best guy to be having one with. He's an amazing guy. Enjoy. So I kind of sense there's a bit of sense of humor in there as well too. Very nicely done.
Very classy response.
Yeah. Okay. Which kind of brings me to one of the questions which Syed has posted earlier. He asks, how do you feel about humor, appropriate humor, clearly, in a business environment? Well, I'll share my points as well, but Tyler, you want to take it off first?
You go first lah.
You. All right. So anyway, humor. Oh, all the time. I use humor all the time, man. And even in a business environment. I mean, look, man. Think about it. I just said what I said earlier, that even in a business setting, I wear mismatched socks. What does it say about that, right? It becomes an icebreaker of sorts, and sometimes depending on what shoes I wear, if it's eye-catching, and that becomes it as well. And more than likely, there'll be a bit of a humor involved. And I still remember one of the times that it just spontaneously came out of my mouth during an event. I can't remember what event was that. Was it a speech or something? But I remember it was with crowds. And I coincidentally wore a pink shirt. I've got nothing against pink, okay? But it's just not often you see me in that color. True enough, my wife was asking me when she saw me walking out of my room, getting dressed up before leaving the house. So it's like, pink shirt, huh? What? Midlife crisis, huh? All that. And I just shared that, and it apparently became a joke, and it created some laughter from the crowd. So I don't know. So yes, I do use humor in a business environment. It does soften the mood, appropriate one, of course, and which, of course, will require some habit of the ability to read the room, what we just talked about earlier, the body language and whatnot. So that's me. How about you, Tyler?
Yeah, so I think humor, most of the time, I kind of agree with you. It definitely has a place, especially when it needs to perform two functions, right? One is either to break the ice or cut some tension. Right, so I think if you're delivering something and halfway through the speech, if people are starting to go down energy, you notice they start doing this in their seats, little by little they start sinking back. Then some humor helps them to just laugh to bring them back forward, bring them back into the fold, and wake them up a little bit. So yeah, I think it's definitely useful, especially for like presentations, speeches that you need to do, and it does help to, I guess, make it a little bit more likable as well. Because you can't scold a funny guy typically lah. It's much more difficult to scold someone like that.
Yeah.
So
true.
Yeah, I think it has a place, but the keyword I think that he put in that I really like is appropriate humor, because otherwise it's dicey, man. I wouldn't recommend it.
Dicey, yes. And this guy, yes, clearly, I mean, we've met him many times, so yes, we agree, Chris, approve. So it's part of his branding, and even in a business setting. So I guess it's not just his branding. Chris has clearly embraced it as part of his personality. He breathes it, and he does it pretty well, actually. And it's not he's not underwhelming himself or being hard on himself. But sometimes I do it too, and there is something called self-deprecating humor. Yeah, you just poke fun of yourself. And yeah, I just gave an example earlier about me wearing a pink shirt, and my wife thought I have a midlife crisis. I mean, that's just an example, right? So, and it's clean fun. There's nothing that abuses the joke or even offenses and anyone out there, except for myself. Isn't it? Right? So
Yeah.
Definitely it's appropriate, okay, and it takes a bit of practice there as well, the ability to kind of read the room, and a fair bit of familiarity who you're with is so important as well. If you're not really familiar with that person, you don't know what's his character, what kind of jokes is he able to take, but then of course just be on the cautious side. But if you can pull it off, oh my god, you're going to be the man or the woman of the hour, so to speak, right? So Tyler, I know you have produced quite a fair bit of topics there. Maybe we can visit one of those. And while I'm just going through, do we have any other comments?
Alrighty.
Good. Okay, listen. Keep the questions coming. Okay, if you have any, or even comments, or even anything that you want to ask, how we handle it. But again, much thanks for those of you who've been engaging us tonight, and thank you so much for joining us as well. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Okay, I think there's one topic here. So this actually comes from like I guess talking to different people who are kind of new to networking as well. The use of small talk. Right, so it's something I'm still terrible at it, to be honest with you. I default to the weather, which is horrible. It's the most boring thing you can think of, but the easiest one you can talk about.
so it's kind of icebreaker.
It's a whole art form on its own though, the small talk thing, because it starts as a small conversation and it leads to more topics and more topics. But building off the small talk is kind of where it comes from. So maybe because you've definitely had a lot more, I think, small talk experience with your the previous line of work, back in Centurion as well. You need to be able to hold a conversation really well in order to get things done.
Okay.
So how do you create the small talk?
Okay, so it's not just about creating a small talk, but I suppose it's keeping the engagement going. That's what we're trying to talk about, right? It's no longer just breaking the ice. We've broken the ice, it's melted, and how to keep it going and flowing. So I'm a parent right now, so I find there is a very relatable general topic. If the other person I know who I'm talking to is also a parent, then our kids are usually the center of attention, and it rolls from there. That's just one of those things I can think of. And then also be just somewhat vulnerable and honest with the other party that what, parenting is not easy, and there's always struggles, and we wake up, we gotta deal with breakfast, and as much as we want to, our house is not entirely tidy. We've got toys all over. It's like a freaking war zone. We've got bits and pieces of Lego. Ooh, those things hurt, right? So, and it's very relatable among parents. And that's just one example. I use that lately, or even before I had my son. When my wife and I we were just newly married, I also make just poking fun of myself. I was very happily married. I still am, by the way. Okay, but of course, there's always this thing. Oh, I'm married. Game over. Yeah, that kind of crap. Of course, I get the eye from my wife. What do you mean game over? Anyway, I still live to tell the tale.
You got no. Before you had to sleep on the couch.
Yeah. So that's just being a dumb husband. But it keeps the engagement going, and that's so far in my experience. And even though, if you notice, right, these are just a few examples that has got absolutely nothing to do with work, but it's so relatable because we have more than work in our life. We work like what, 8 hours in a day, and we've got 16 other hours domestically, isn't it? So that's my personal experience lah. Anyone have the different experience? We'd love to hear from you. But Tyler, what's your experience so far?
I mean, my experience so far with keeping engagement going, I use this. I mean, typically when it's let's say you're moving places or you leave the meeting room and it's that little space between the meeting room and the lift that you need to like keep talking. Right. So that's the kind of things I'm like, do you have any plans for the weekend? Because again, now that we're done with all the work stuff, no one wants to talk about work outside of work, typically, right? Because everyone needs a space, and like you said, there's only 8 hours at work, 16 hours is, it's life, right? So everyone has got something that they're into, and I find that the weekend topic is quite a nice one to default to, because if they have no plans, you want to relax, something else, you get to see how they are, and when they're just in their element, doing nothing, relaxing, reading, something like that, to decompress. Or they're into any activities like it's very interesting to me, because sometimes you talk to somebody and out of nowhere they're like, oh yeah, I'm going rock climbing. You're like, oh, I wouldn't have expected this out of someone else, But there's a book called
There you go. 100 tricks to appear smart in meetings. Okay, so very fun part about networking events. So appear smart, or are we really smart? But anyway, but okay, all right. Point taken. So there is this book, as mentioned by Said. Okay, okay. Well, Chris kind of also
Spend
relate
the
as
weekend.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, weekend plans. All right, and okay, yeah. And then Sharon, important to know what's in the news to start a small talk. General affairs, okay, or current affairs. Uh, Here's the thing, Tyler. When was the last time you read the papers? I'm
I
not
have a
judging. Judging.
subscription.
You do?
So online
Wow.
subscription lah. Have to lah.
Okay.
Terpaksa lah.
Okay. I do too. Yeah, I'm paying the subscription to the star.com.my. But there are some people who is just absolutely have no idea what's going on in the country, and then that's okay. That's totally okay. But I do find that it's very useful depending on what line of work we're in. Some industry news, for example, how is it going? Certain impact due to some legislation that's been passed. You name it, right? I mean, I'm from HR. You were from HR as well too. So yeah, that becomes also another talking point. How you to relate back to what Sharon is talking about? Just think back 1 year ago about the election. Wow, all the uncle auntie can come and tell you in coffee shops, don't vote for that fella. They're useless fella. You know. Yeah. So what's in the news? So I guess that's how we get it going, the engagement. And we have 6 more minutes to go. Perhaps we're gonna choose one more, and I'm just nominating this talking point. Charisma, charm. How do we differentiate it? And why, and how does it work? Does it work for our benefit, and how to take advantage of it? What do you think about this? Charisma or charm, everyone? I have my answers as well, but while we're waiting, hopefully you're gonna chip in as well. Tyler, what do you think about this? Charisma or charm?
Okay, so this came from a favorite comedian of mine, and this from Jimmy Carr. Do you know Jimmy Carr?
Of course. Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, apart from his stand-up, which, by the way, if you guys don't appreciate rude humor, you won't enjoy his show. But if you like the kind of very dark jokes, yeah, something you might enjoy. So anyways, he did a podcast recently with another comedian, and there's one part of it where they were discussing the difference between charisma and charm. So charisma, the way he puts it is, people come to you. You drive people to you. So it's more of a pull factor. So someone that's very charismatic, for example, I would argue Donald Trump. So it's a kind of very strong character that may be divisive, but some people do go to them for that reason, because they sound strong, they sound firm, they sound like they know what they're talking about, right? So that's the kind of charisma I think that people would look up to. Charm, on the other hand, is kind of like, if you think about Obama, I think that's kind of the character that signifies a lot of charm. Very down to earth, relatable, and people tend to flock around you, and so you go to the people and they end up accepting you, for example. So that's kind of how I would put charm. So I guess in a conversational context, right, charisma is you sound like you're controlling the conversation, and people are like, oh, what's this guy got to say? Then they hover over and they talk to you, right? But if you've got a charm, you go to people, you talk like, oh, sorry, you have nice shoes. And then I think, in my opinion, I mean, from knowing you as well, you fall more towards the charm side.
Oh,
like very charming type.
Okay, I'll take it. I think.
Take,
Anyway.
compliments all
Chris-
see here.
So Chris kind of relates to what you said earlier as well too. So he says charisma is more genuine, and it feels more real, whereas charming is more of a smooth talker. So, and Kamarul, apa khabar, bang? Kamarul says charisma is towards how confident we are when we relay a message with facts, of course, validated by facts, right? But charm is when we use our body language as well as the words that we use to portray and to deliver what we're trying to deliver. And obviously, part and parcel of it is to soften the person, to come to a mutual agreement of what we're trying to pitch, for example, right? So charm. For me, charm. Okay, all right, thank you. I'll take it. So, can one learn charisma or charm be learned? So this is a bit very technical. So let me try to explain, charisma versus charm and address Sharon's question. So, as far as I'm concerned, charm, okay, there's no right or wrong, okay, feel free to argue with me here. It's a quality that makes someone seems attractive, governed by the person's body language or speech, kind of associated with that person on a public view, okay? It's that person approachable? Is he friendly? Is he witty? Something like that. That's as best as I can try to describe it. But charisma, I tend to agree with you as well. It's swaying towards that side, Tyler, where it's not necessarily requiring us to speak to begin with. It's a pulling factor, drawing others to us like a magnet, that we are charismatic and that we are magnetic in some sense, where people come to us, and they may come to us for a conversation, to ask for advice, or just to strike up a conversation. It's just like, you're in a bar, and if you look at a girl, or maybe if you're a girl, if you look at a guy, he looks cute or look charismatic, if you feel like, want to talk to that person, something like that. I would describe that as the charisma, because you haven't even started talking to that person to begin with, to determine whether is that person charming or not. So, Sharon says, or she asks, can one learn charisma or charm? Don't know whether is there such a thing of learning or not. I may have picked it up subconsciously. It's more of a practice of lifestyle.
Like you can develop it, but I wouldn't really call it learning. It's not something you can consciously pick up. You know what I mean? So I'm
concerned that there's no curriculum or syllabus in that. It's not a classroom subject. It's more of know how to become tahu jadi orang lah, so spar with me here, have this verbal sparring with me, Tyler. I would associate it with our childhood, how we are taught by our parents, our upbringing, to have basic courtesy and manners. Uncle, auntie, jia, for example. It then develops over time because it becomes a habit and forms part of who we are. It's in our character, and suppose that develops both charisma and charm. And maybe charm, it's we can develop our power of speech and among others, right? And that's where our education come in. We are eloquent in the choice of words that we use. And I don't know, but charisma, I suppose, if you can memang ada tata tertib, ada adab, that some people say like, macam very good boy, very good girl, macam tu.
Yeah, but I think to spar and to play devil's advocate to that point of view as well, right? I think that there's a possibility to, I guess, in some ways learn, because while we are shaped a certain way through our upbringing, I think still certain parts of as we go through life, there's so many years to live, right? We tend to pick up from the people that we mix with as well. Right, so people that we interact with, and even though they're not family, or they were a stranger and become good friends later, you pick it up lah. Motus camkan. After all his elaboration, this one is tikam sikit.
Ini tikam lah ni. Aku rasa, alright. So anyway, Commando Club, I cannot teach that one. Can you email Eric? Please give him this. And you know what? We have Sim Ling. It's so nice to see you, Sim. How you been doing, man? So we've got a HR influencer here in the house watching with us, and she says that charisma is macam a magnet for charm. It's the magic spell we wish we could bottle and sell on Shopee. Okay. Auntie sudah masuk. And then he said, charisma le macam fine wine. Ada orang ada, tapi there are some also left wondering kalau accidentally buka bottle of vinegar instead. Full of mark. As straight as it gets. That's who she is. All right. So thank you so much again for dropping your comments. It's been. Oh wow! It's already 9:03. We've exceeded our time. So
Cepat.
yeah, it's been fun. So we hope that tonight's episode kind of give a bit of insights on how communication works, and hopefully you pick up some pointers on how to do it effectively, how to fit in depending on which scenario you're in. Okay, and we address this to viewers who may be watching right now live or even during our recording, whether you're a fresh grad, whether you're a final year student or a young professional transitioning in different phases of life. And we're not just talking about work setting, okay? It's just life, how communication can potentially open the next doors of opportunities for you. And hopefully you found something. Connect with us anyway, and just banter with us, leave us some comments or even messages even after this broadcast ends, and we'll try our best to just chit chat with you as well too. So Tyler was also from the HR space and still is in some ways, and he has been involved as an interviewer as well, and myself as well, a fair bit of that. And once again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Tyler, any last words?
Commando Club is coming on 15 November, so make sure you sign up for that. Must plug, man, towards the end of the night.
Yeah. You see this Jabo punya muka, tengok itu fish dia pun kata free punya, sign up on. Tengok itu muka. Ayyo. So anyway,
way to fish sees a stream lah.
Yeah, anyway, she's traveling overseas right now. Hopefully there's no Wi-Fi there. But anyway, tough luck. So take care. Thank you so much again for watching tonight, and for celebrants of Deepavali. Happy Deepavali in advance. There will be no broadcast next Monday, and siapa-siapa yang celebrating it, then if you have any spare muruku, I'm up for it. Okay, I take.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, can DM me as well too. That's all, everyone. Take care. Good night.
Right, good night.